Welcome back to Gale Force Winds Season 4.
The Gale Force Winds podcast is proudly sponsored by the Newfoundland and Labrador Construction Association. The NLCA provides unparalleled opportunities for its members through industry education, construction information, government advocacy, and networking events. The NLCA is building Newfoundland and Labrador. For more information, visit nlca.ca.
This didn't happen overnight.
No.
What we're looking at here right now. This was a long journey to get here, and it started when you were young folks, right? So tell me about that. Tell me what it was like growing up in the Lane household when you were little fellows while this business was growing.
Yeah, well, we our younger brothers, I guess, really grew up in the business. Tim and I, for me, grew up as preachers' kids in Newfoundland, all bounced around all rural Newfoundland. And I actually graduated in '97, left home, moved to the U.S., started college down there, and in '98, Mom and Dad got into the business. So I didn't really grow up in the business. Our younger brothers grew up in the business, but I guess it was always in Dad's blood. Wherever he went, he was always building something. Making some dream come true, building a church or building a house. It was sort of his life always, right?
Yeah.
And caring for people in ministry, of course, right?
And I think that in ministry, that's one thing that we grew up and we always saw Mom and Dad really attracted to seniors. So even before they got into the retirement home business, any church that they were involved in, they always were connected with the seniors, and the seniors always loved them, even though there was quite an age gap. They always took care of the seniors in the church, and so it wasn't a shock when they decided, after they were done in ministry, to go into the retirement home business. It was like a natural progression.
And you guys must remember that a lot of seniors around and in your life back then. What was that like?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, like Tim said, a large percentage of the population were senior, especially in rural Newfoundland, and you got connected with them. And as the preacher's kids, of course, you got spoiled a little bit with baked goods dropped off to the house every other day, and you got to sort of look forward to Mrs. Shepherd's homemade chocolate chip loaf. I can remember that one. So it was a lot of fond memories, and even going to church on a Sunday morning, they made a fuss over you. It was special.
Sunday nights after church, there was always going to someone's house for a snack, and most of the times it was seniors that would have you in and crack open a bottle of moose meat and stuff like that there, and so.
It sounds like a Norman Rockwell upbringing.
Yeah. We had a great upbringing. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
When did you get pulled into the seniors' home? At what point in your life did you get pulled in?
Yeah, well, I was just married. A couple years, I guess. Mom and Dad started into the business in '97, and in 2000 I got married. And in early 2001, Dad called and said, "I'm thinking about purchasing a retirement home out in central Newfoundland, and wondering if you and your wife," we were only 21 at the time, 20 and 21. My wife was 20, I was 21, and wondering if you guys would be interested in moving out and running the home. And so we thought about it and said, yeah. We went out and visited, I did, and looked at it, and decided to get involved. And even though we were really young and most of our staff were really older, it just became something natural pretty quickly. And the greatest part was definitely the residents and the connections, and even 20 years later, I still remember most every one of their names, and I still have all the memories and the stories of that first 4 years in that first retirement home that we started in.
Barry, how did you know that they could do it at such a young age?
Well, I guess, like I said, my wife worked in a home, so that was her passion. She loved seniors, working with seniors. Actually, the first year she left school, she was contemplating going in for nursing. And I fooled all that up when we got married and what have you. But I guess it was her, you know, it was Sheila that had the vision for it. And once the boys grew up among it, like the two younger sons as well, it just came so natural. And these guys, when they came home and they started on the floors the same as everybody else, and they all the care that had to be done, they done it, you know. And it was hard, you know, for young men to do that. But we felt it was very important. If they were going to learn this business, they had to start with the grassroots. And once they start running these facilities, the staff, they can look at their staff and say, you know, if they say, I can't do this, well, oh yes, you know, we did this ourselves. We've been there. We know this is the kind of care that we want to give to our residents, and we did it, and we have to provide for them, you know. And so that's really what the driving force that for them to keep going is learning the grassroots of everything in the operation, like, you know.
Yeah, I think I remember the first 4 years. We didn't always appreciate that, being so young, that we had to do everything. Those first 4 years, we did all the personal care. There was times I cooked. I never cooked before, if needed. Did all the books, did all the maintenance, did all the hospital transportation, kept the grounds up. So I think in those early years, we probably didn't appreciate it, but certainly as we grew more into business, we realized now, even after that, how important it was to do everything. Because like Dad said, we learned that we could relate to our staff more because we had the opportunity to understand what they go through on a day-to-day basis. Instead of just, okay, you're going to manage this home, you sit in office. I'm glad that wasn't how it went, for sure.
But it must have felt amazing at the age of 21 to know that you had your dad's confidence to run such an important establishment.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was. I don't know if he had confidence first. He took a risk, and but he certainly felt good as we went on, and we took over the first home. It was 13 residents, and we built it up to 45, and so it was a great learning experience. And there was lots of stuff during those first 4 years that Dad or Mom would tell us that we still speak of today in staff meetings. We still relay the same kind of wisdom that Dad. I remember one thing Dad always said to us was, you know, the family that gives you the most trouble, they're the ones that keeps you on your toes, and if you can please them, then you'll please everybody, and you'll run an amazing home. And we still talk about that today in our staff meetings with our staff and new managers we hire, and yeah.
So you're down in the States.
Well, yeah, actually, by that time I was working at a gold mine in Red Lake, Ontario. I bounced around a bit, but I was crusher operator there, and Dad called one day and said, looking at building a new home in Victoria, and I wondered if you want to come home and run it. So I talked to my wife, and we, you know, we were newly married as well. We got married in 2000 as well, and we were looking for an opportunity to come back to Newfoundland to start a family. You know, Newfoundland always tugs at your heart to come home, and so we wanted to be home and raise kids. So it was a perfect opportunity. And I was going to say, I mean, Mom and Dad were never far away. They were very hands-on. I mean, yes, they put trust and faith in us to do the job, but they were never far away. I can remember many times having to call up Mom if I was dealing with the situation, and you know, at times if she felt it was necessary, she'd come down and be a part of the solution and dealing with a family member or you know, or a resident. So it was you know, they were never far away. That was always their approach. You know, they gave you your leash, I guess, to learn and make mistakes, but at the same time, they're always there to give you a hand up, right?
It's one thing to come home and run a gas station or something.
Yeah.
It's another thing to come home and help people with the most beautiful part of their life and entrench yourself in their families and make their life a wonderful experience.
I remember before Dad called, I remember I used to talk to Tim, because Tim worked for the summers. He did summers at the home long before I ever got involved. And I was tree planting out west. That was my summer job. I used to say to Tim, man, I don't know how you can do that, the actual hands-on personal care. And when Dad called, there was a little bit of hesitation, but once I made my mind up to come home, and again, I'm thankful as well that Mom and Dad said, if you're going to do this, you're going to know every aspect of what it means to run this facility, right from caring, hands-on personal care with the seniors, right up through the management of the facility, right? And we were young, and it was challenging at times, and you're dealing with lots of different families and personalities and lots of different residents that come from different backgrounds. But like Tim said, I mean, those early years, I don't know how often I'll quote something that a resident said, Blair, there's no fun growing old. So, just something simple like that there. Or I remember Mrs. Millie used to say, it takes all kinds to make a world. So I find myself quoting the residents now, and it was a special time. I remember working in Old Perlican, and it was a home that was filled with fishermen. And no such thing as, okay, breakfast is at 8:30. No. As soon as the sun rose, they were up, dressed, down, looking for breakfast. Whether it be 5:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, they wanted their breakfast, just the same as if they were getting ready to go out on the water.
So now we're getting away with a bowl of fruits and yogurt.
No, bacon and eggs all the way.
Yeah.
Barry, how did it feel when the boys took over those first few jobs?
It was a wonderful feeling. Some people used to say to me years ago when I first started business, whatever you do, don't involve your children. Worst thing you could ever do is involve your children. For me, it was the biggest blessing. I felt that we were giving our children a future, and my wife was happy to do that. She was happy to have her family come back home from away, and like I said, this was her passion, her heart. And when Blair said she wasn't very far from them, she wasn't. She's never very far. No matter what time in the night, the day, the phone was always accessible. And she got up a good many nights and went to the home to care for somebody and to work out situations that was health-wise and so on and so forth. So yeah, I really believe it was her passion again that passed along to her children.
Mom had a calmness as well. She was very steady, no matter how much of a crisis, whatever the situation was, she could sort of walk into that room and immediately connect with the family, help them see things, for what they were. And I always admired that, because being a young fellow, 20-something years old, sometimes you feel like you got something to prove. And I remember once calling Mom saying, like, I don't know how to handle this. Mom said, I'll be down. And she walked into that room, and she got them on her side, and they felt heard. And of course, I was expecting it to go differently, but she just knew how to handle people. She really
would never jump to conclusions, or I remember when she had cancer, the doctor called, and we were in our vehicle driving along, and the doctor said, you have full-blown cancer, and you need to get in immediately. We're going to do emergency surgery. And she hung up the phone, and she had a little cry, and she said, just like I'm talking to you now, God, I got cancer. And she said, I'll accept it, but only for your glory. I never heard her complain or argue over that afterwards, nothing. Yeah, that's the type of girl she was. She had an amazing personality,
I remember something else she said at that time. She said, "Why me, Lord?" But immediately after said, "Well, why not? Why not?" That's how she embraced life. Was none of us are excluded from the bad times as well as the good times.
Well, compassion, work ethic, business, these themes run deep in these family lines. What was supper like in your place? How did the conversation play out in your household as you grew older?
Yeah.
You were all involved in the business.
Well, I think one of the most important things because like you said, it wasn't to come home and run a gas station. It was to care for seniors in the absolute best time of their lives. Not the best time, but in the retirement years, which they really deserved. So I think one of the biggest things that we learned, and I think it came from those conversations around the table, was it's about the seniors. Yeah, it's a business. Yeah, you're going to make money. That's a part of a business, but it's not just about that. It's about caring for the residents, and we saw it. We saw when we were down in Operlican, and one of the residents would come over to Mom and Dad's house, which was next to the home, and he'd knock on the window and he'd come in and sit down at the table, not in the senior's home, but in Mom and Dad's home. And so we quickly learned that it is about the residents. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things that I can say I took from the conversations around the table, that it always went back to, yeah, but it's the residents we got to think about here now. It's what's best for them, what's going to make them happy, and I think that what's made a difference for us, as a new generation, is sometimes maybe it's easy to drift away from what matters most, but we had our parents, because we didn't just start on our own, we had our parents' voice in our ears years later. What about the residents? Not only residents, but what about the staff? You got to take care of your staff. You got to treat them well. And I can say that really was what was instilled by our parents, as opposed to us going into a business, starting on our own. We're thankful we had that as the foundation.
Yeah, and I think I often say if this is just a job, with this business is not for the faint of heart. And if it's just a job, you'll never survive. It has to be about people, and caring for people. And it's challenging at times, but very rewarding. It teaches you, it changes you. You get to meet some amazing residents and family members who, I know Tim shared a story with me. He bumped into, he can probably share it better than me, about a family member down across the aisle last year, and they just broke down. They said like it was such a difficult time, for them. Her mom had dementia, and she just felt like we were a godsend. Like she don't know what she would have done if we weren't there, and
it was last summer I met her, and it was 10 years ago that her mom passed away, and she started crying in a park. We were camping. And she just said, you don't realize how you guys, your facility, your team, how you guys helped us through one of the most difficult times of our life when our mom got dementia. And she said, you'll never know. And to us, we were just doing what we knew to do, and we never thought about it since. But to them, it made such an impact. And that's, like Blair said, that's where it's more than just a job, for sure, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is a fairly powerful story, right? And you would have impacted families like that and continue to impact families like that every day of your life.
Well, the interesting thing now is, so Mom and Dad's first home in Old Perlican, like we are now caring for the family members, the daughters and sons that are now in our homes, and we cared for their parents 25 years ago. So I think of a lady in Operlican. I can remember her and her friend going for a ride in the dune buggy
With the boys.
with our two younger brothers.
They put the seniors in the dune buggy and give
around
them
the
a run
home,
around the home.
give them a ride around the home in the dune buggy, and her daughter became,
And now in the home.
yeah,
That's right.
is now a resident in that home. So it's that's pretty amazing when you stop and think about it, right?
What do you think, boys, I'll direct this towards the boys, Dad, but what do you think, what were some of the characteristics you took away from Mom and Dad as you now move forward with this incredible facility here? What are some of the things that you took away most for here?
Yeah, I think for me it's recognizing that it's a difficult time for residents and families, and you need to be prepared for resistance sometimes. I mean, you're dealing with families who are watching their loved ones slip a little, and it's hard to watch. And they can sort of perhaps say some things sometimes out of frustration. But I remember Mom always saying, don't be quick to respond to threats. There's always a reason. There's always a reason behind the way someone feels, how they're reacting in the moment, and quite often it's because this is their mom and dad you're talking about, or grandma and grandpa, and they just want the best for them. Like our mom passed, we'll never have the privilege of Mom in a retirement home, but if Mom was in a retirement home, I'd feel the same way. I'd want nothing but the best for her, So I think just that was a big learning lesson for me, is that it's rewarding. Families appreciate what you do, but sometimes, there's also challenges, and sometimes they feel guilty about them being in the home, but they should never feel that way, because it's such a blessing for their family members to be in a place where they're surrounded by peers and they can talk about the old times versus being home alone with no one to talk to. So, but I think that was the biggest thing that I learned.
I kind of think on the business side of things, and I can still hear Dad from those early years saying, keep your finger on the pulse. Make sure to keep your finger on the pulse. And I remember once he came down to Gander Bay where we had the home, and I didn't have the grass mowed, and he said, look, most people will never come inside that building, but they'll only see the outside. And so he said, you need to keep it looking good. And I, from that day on, I would get up 6 o'clock in the morning and, probably twice a week, and keep the grass cleaned up. And so I guess I learned that you really do have what you put in, you'll get out. So that was a characteristic that I definitely learned from Dad, was keep your finger on the pulse, make sure you don't, just get slack.
To you, Barry, as you walk around this new facility, brand new facility, spectacular as it is, what do you reflect on as you watch your sons take it forward?
Well, I have to say, every time I look at my boys and I talk to them and I visit this place, I really envision my wife working through them. And the same passion, same zeal for seniors, they have it. They've certainly taken it to a higher level than their mom, but I know their mom would be so proud of what they've accomplished there and put here for seniors. So yeah, I think they've done well. I'm very, very proud of them. A lot of hard work, a lot of worry, sweat, tears, everything else to get where they're to. But they did it, and they're blazing the trail for their children, I believe, and children's children.
I was just going to say, I don't know how often I say it, a lot of times, but I mean, as beautiful as this building is, it's still only a building. It's just a building. It's the people, the residents that live here, the staff that work here. That's what makes it a home. That's what makes it a beautiful place to live. I mean, you can have all the amenities in the world, but it still comes back to the people that you have the privilege to care for, and that's what makes it special.
But just the sheer fact of you saying that speaks to your leadership, all of it. The leadership that you provide, the direction, the guidance, the compassion that you provide your senior managers that work down to the staff on the desk, that trickle down to every single resident here. And when Jerry and I speak to them, they all talk about how well they are treated here. Staff, residents, everything. Mm-hmm. They describe this place as a family. Mm-hmm. That's pretty... Most people don't go to work and describe their workplace as a family. How does that make you feel?
I think it helps us realize that what we know we want it to be is actually happening, because Blair's right. It isn't just about the building. Like, it is a phenomenal building. You know, there's very few in Canada probably compared to what we have here. But if that's all we have, it's not what we started it for. It grew into this. You know, originally we were going to put a 100-bed personal care home here, and now we have, 220 some odd residents when we're full. But that's what it's for. It's for the residents. And I guess we always stop and say, well, when I get ready to retire, when I have to move into a facility like this, what do I want? What do I want to experience? And we don't want people just to come and have a room. We want them to come and live. And I think one thing that we always pictured is to almost be like a cruise ship, where amazing food, amazing activity, social life together, like a place that you don't just abide, but you actually live. You experience life. And our recreation coordinator, we renamed that role here as our life enrichment coordinator, because that's what we wanted to make sure that the residents' life is enriched. Because I guess we realized the impact that these seniors had on our province when they were growing up, and they really built Newfoundland. So in our minds, they deserve the best, and it's our job to try and make sure that happens. Right.
Yeah, and as well, when Tim and I, as the design phase sort of evolved, because when we started looking at the design of this place, what we were going to put here, where we started and where we ended were two opposite ends of the spectrum. But as we got more and more into it, and growing up, we've done as a family, we've been blessed to do some trips together. We finally went on a few cruises together, and there's nothing more special than spending time with your family, whether it be our immediate families or all of us together. I'm not sure if Dad shared, but 17 grandchildren. So we're a big family. But we wanted this place to be not only a place for residents to come, have a room, and enjoy the facilities and the amenities, but also so that families can come. If they're not just coming to sit on mom or dad's bed, for a half an hour and leave. I mean, they can actually come here. They can use the amenity space, the coffee shop. They can book out the movie theater. They can go down to O'Malley's, book that out. We got a family dining area here as well that they can book for special events. So it was all geared around, the residents having a home that they can continue to bring their family into, even better, perhaps than, dare I say, than their own home when it comes to activities and things that they can do for their families, right?
Well, all I can say is that they've done a great job, and I believe the reward is great for them. And as they move forward, I don't know what they got planned next, but I know that there's great things in store as they keep dreaming and keep building.
Okay, so along the same vein then, and we talk about, it's a family feel to it, I would argue that that's your why. That's why you do this, right? You want people to feel like this is your family. That's great. What are some of your big priorities as you look to the future right now? What are some of your big priorities for Lanes?
We want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable when they live at Lanes. No matter what their background is, no matter if they've been raised in riches or with little, when they come to Lanes, we feel like everybody should get treated the same, and we always want to make sure that they feel like they're royalty. I remember when we built our home in Carbonear, and I remember residents felt like they were living in a hotel. And it is a beautiful home. I mean, it's not like this new facility we have, but to them it was like a mansion, and it was up on a hill, and we always want to make sure we hold on to that, and that residents really feel special. They really feel like they're important, no matter what their history or background is.
Yeah, and I think just continue to listen to residents. I think even this past year, so every year Tim and I always make an effort to visit all the homes for our annual Christmas parties, try to line them up sort of consecutive nights so that we can get to them all, get them mixed with the families and the residents, connect with them again. And I remember connecting with a gentleman down there, and residents, they don't hold back. There's no, they want to share. They want to share about their lives. And I remember him sharing about, how he lost his daughter, and then how he lost another child, and then he lost his wife. And I'm just sitting there and thinking, man, like this is why we do what we do. Everyone's got a story, that might not be everyone's story, but thank goodness that there's a place for this gentleman to come, who's now all alone. Now some people got big families, and that's a whole nother, as Newfoundlanders say, a kettle of fish. I mean, you got, they could all show up at the Christmas party, and you got 10 or 12 children of the of the resident, that you got to mix and mingle with, but it's all good.
I don't know if you know this or not, maybe you do, but 4 months ago, a resident here palliated in the home,
Yes.
died, and the whole staff, I don't know if you're aware of this, they formed a bit of an honor guard.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
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 His sister told us that story. She probably mentioned that 8 or 9 times in our conversation, just how much it meant to her for you to do that. But to me, what it said is that they did exactly what you had asked them to do. Treat the people here like they're your family. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when you know that that's happening?
Yeah, incredible. I mean, I know the resident you're talking about, and I remember on opening day, he was our first resident in the home. And we do a thing here called the red carpet moment, like the red carpet day. So we roll out the red carpet when every new resident moves in. We bring everyone out, at that time, sort of a welcoming committee as they enter the building. Some of them, have fun with it. Some of them dance their way in. Some of them are a little more bashful and shy with it. But I remember him getting his keys for the first time, and to know that, that was his welcome. And, as he left, all the staff were there again, supporting the family and saying farewell. It's incredible.
Yeah, we feel like we do have an amazing staff, and I think what makes them so amazing is that they really do care. They really, they're concerned if a resident is not getting the care that they should. They're really passionate about it, and it does make us feel good, because we hope that our passion rubs off a little bit on them, and it's evident that to them it is more than just a job as well. Yeah, it is. they often do things like that there, not because we ask, but because they do it. Lots of stuff that happens and goes on here, which is great because it would be terrible if the only things that happened was stuff that me and Blair suggested. But our management team here take it upon themselves, and all of a sudden I'll be on Facebook and see something that happened here that I had no clue was organized, no clue that was happening, and I'll see it for the first time, and that just shows that we have an amazing team.
Yeah. In the military, they say surround yourself with good people and then listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's clearly what you're doing here.
Yeah. It can't be done alone.
No.
No.
This can't be done alone.
No.
Sounds like your mom and dad tried.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
in the earlier
they
days.
built it
Yeah.
from scratch and
Yeah.
they did it all.
Yeah, they did.
You guys did it all too.
Yeah.
Let me dive, it's not here, but let me dive into that for a second. You guys started on the floor,
Yep.
right? Tell me about those early experiences.
With so many stories, so many experiences. I remember when I worked just in the summertime for mom and dad in the retirement home. Before 8 o'clock, I would have 20 residents that I would have to feed full bacon and egg breakfast to in the morning. I would have 6 residents that I would have to get up and give a sponge bath and get ready for the day. Overnight, I had to learn to bake bread from scratch, and one of the residents would stand there and she'd guide me and tell me what to do. The previous night shift had taught me how to do it, but of course when I got ready to do it I would have forgotten. But so the resident stood there and she helped me and she said, now put this in and mix it up, now get there and knead it, and yeah, those kind of lessons just you never forget about. I remember once I had to give a man a sponge bath. So I had him in the bathroom getting him ready for the day, and I stepped outside to get a towel, and when I came back, he was gone. And of course, I was like, where is he, right? And I went looking around, and then I finally found him. There was a closet in between 2 bathrooms with the towels, and when I stepped into the closet, he came out of one bathroom and went in the other. And so there's always these stories that you'll never forget, right? Yeah.
But they make you the leader you are today.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to experience the good and the bad of doing it, and now when our staff struggle with something, we're able to relate more because we actually did it with ourselves. We actually did it ourselves, so we understand what it takes to care for the residents, for sure, right?
I think sometimes it's the thing I miss the most. As the business grew, you could no longer be that person, that was there on the floors. You had to sort of lead a team of people to care for those residents and new families that would move in. But there was nothing more rewarding than those moments. Working a night shift and seeing someone come in after all day work and come in and see mom or dad and chatting, having a great chat with them, letting them know how mom or dad was doing, what kind of day they had. And like Tim said, the residents all around, I just remember great stories, especially working night shift. I don't know why, but I guess working night shift, I guess you get them all ready for bed and they're comfortable for the night. Sometimes some of them will get up and be busy throughout the night, but it was just something special about getting them settled away and comfortable for the night, and then getting them up in the morning. There was also just something great about that. I remember one day I was walking past an old fisherman's room. He was from Capeland Cove in Old Purlican when I was working nights there. And I quickly passed his room because I was on the way to see another resident, and he was in there on the floor. So I stopped what I was doing. I went in. I stood over him. I said, "Skipper," I said, "What are you doing down there?" He looked up. He said, "Is my horse in the barn?" I said, "What? Is my horse in the barn?" I didn't know what to say first, but it was the middle of winter. Dad was outside snow blowing because it was a storm. And he went over to grab the blinds to pull it up. I guess thought he was home, concerned about his horse. And apparently he had the nicest horse in Conception Bay. And when he pulled on the blinds, he lost his balance and came back, and the blinds ended up on him, tangled up. And I said, yes, I said, I put the horse in. I said, before I come to work, I put it in. That's all he wanted to hear. All of his fears were calmed, and I got him up and got him back into bed. But, you know, it's those moments of when they're in crises, you know, having a bad day, just to be there, to care for them. I know there was another resident that was sometimes difficult to get up and get ready for the day. I know one day I just made it my mission. I'm gonna get her up and get her out. And she was so proud. She was so proud. She resisted first, but she was so proud to be out. And I remember Mom out chatting with her. And so you miss that stuff, because even though it's important to lead as well, you know, lead your team. You can't be down in the trenches when the team, you know, when the home grows bigger and you got more residents to look after. Which that's an important role from a different side then. But I do miss sometimes being down in the trenches with the residents and the families.
Well, guys, from kneading bread to putting the horse in the barn, you know, a Burlington, it's a far journey to here.
Yes.
Tell me about this place, from concept to where we sit now. Tell me about that journey when you, in your mind, said this is how we want it to look, and as you stand here now, 2, 3, 4 years, how long did that take?
5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, close on. Almost 5 years ago we broke ground here.
Yeah.
I think when we started to envision this place and think about, okay, you know, we're used to the personal care homes, we're used to retirement homes out around the bay, and to build one in the city, we had to kind of stop and say, what would the residents in St. John's be looking for? We have residents in our home in Carbonear, which is an hour away, that have never ever visited St. John's. But typically, a lot of the residents that we knew we would have move in here have traveled the world. They, you know, they've been to visit family down in Florida. They've been on a cruise themselves. So when we started thinking about what do we do different here, we had to think about, well, what about the residents? I guess it always would go back to the residents. What do we need to create here that would be different than we've ever done before? And it just kind of started. Well, you know what? We have a 90-year-old lady here, I think she's 91, who still goes to the Aqua Arena to swim. Even though we have a pool here, she swims here, but she was used to going to a pool, getting her laps in. So we had to think about that. We had to think about some of the residents here in St. John's are used to being in bowling leagues, right? There's not a lot of bowling alleys outside of St. John's, you know. So we had to think, well, let's put a bowling alley. A lot of the seniors, a lot of the men would gather in coffee shops, and so we said, well, let's do a coffee shop and let's do something that they might be used to going to. So we partnered with Robbins and did a coffee shop, and we kind of started to think, what if we had a place that the residents, especially in Newfoundland and in the winter, and you know, they don't really want to go outside and risk slipping. Let's create a place that has everything. A hair salon. Let's have a place, a wellness center, so we can have massage and chiropractor and physio all come in instead of having to go out. Let's have a pub downstairs. Let's have fine dining. Let's have a place that families can come in and have supper with their parents instead of having to take them out to a fine dining restaurant. Let's do it here. And I think that's where our vision really started to grow as we started to design the facility and started to think about it more. And our architects will tell you we made lots of changes through the process because that's when the vision started going more and more. Let's do this, let's do that, let's make this a place. Even to our main entrance here where we have 3 stories, water fountain. We said, like, let's make it feel like when you walk onto a cruise ship and you got your grand piano and somebody's there playing it. Let's think outside the box and dream big of what the typical probably person in St. John's that would avail of this facility, what are they used to? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Tim said it grew. We got carried away too. I think as we just kept adding and adding. What if we did this? What if we did that? And Tim and I know in the earlier days prior to design phase, we flew to Toronto, and we just showed up at some of the retirement homes, walked in, asked if we could speak to the manager, and we did get successful, and we got some tours of properties up there. But I don't know if there's anything that has all the amenities that we have here. Like, we went to one place, they had a pool, but of course we got full-size bowling lanes here. We actually took a couple of stalls from the parking garage to get that, but we wanted full-size lanes. So it sort of just evolved, and again, it was all in mind. We just kept in mind that we need this to be a place for family, for families to enjoy and to live. I mean, life is hard. Some of these residents, they can tell stories that would kind of make you feel. What's the word? Some of them have had sad lives. Some of them have lost children. Some of them have worked hard all their lives, and just to have a place now that they can come, and their kids can come in, and your grandkids and their great grandkids can come in and go swimming with them. There's nothing quite as rewarding as that for us, because as I said, I mean, we're big with family first. Yes. There was always lots of talk about business when we got together as families, but there was also lots of fun too. We always found a way to have fun, whether it be on vacation or having to boil up on the beach. Just everyone coming together, especially in the years that Mom was dealing with her sickness. It just became even more special. I remember our last Christmas that we all spent together. There was 30 plus of us, all of our family went to Mom and Dad's and spent Christmas there. And so we wanted this to be a place where family can gather and make new memories with their loved ones.
Have you achieved it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're getting there. I think it's a journey, and continue to build the culture here. And we also wanted to make sure that we could have a place that a resident could age in place. Because a lot of our facilities are at around the bay, they're level 1, level 2 residents. But when they needed nursing care, they would have to move on to another facility. So here we thought, let's build a place that a resident can come when they don't need any help at all, when they're independent, when they probably still got their vehicle, they're going out every day. We've had people move in here that still own their own business and go out and work and during the day. But then we said, well, not only do we want someone to come that's independent, and that's why we have a lot of amenities, but we wanted to have a place that people could age in place, and as they get needing a little bit of care, but then needing a lot more care, and right on till the end of life, right on to palliative care, a place where families can come and be with them in their last moments. And that was important to us as well, to make sure to design a place and staff appropriately, to have a place that resident can, when they move in here, they know they don't have to move somewhere else. They know that they're here. Residents often say, I'm here until a hearse picks me up. And that was important as well, to create something, not new, because there are facilities that have it, but usually it's not common, I guess, right? So.
Are there many like this around? Because, I mean, this is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a national caliber, retirement home. Absolutely. I mean, I would think it can compare to anything in Canada. I mean, there's nothing in Newfoundland like it. I'm not sure about Atlantic Canada. I know there's some beautiful retirement homes in Halifax, but we're real proud. And again, we did not set out to it grew. It was a vision that grew, and we just kept adding and adding. But again, I just think about seeing residents with their families using the facility, and again, that's really what it's all about, you know. And like Tim said, it's even though this facility offers everything, it's still not an easy decision to come to that stage in your life where you're going to leave your own home where you raised your children. You know, perhaps, you know, one or the other spouse have passed, so you're just leaving all that behind to move into a brand new facility, sort of starting a new life. But the fact that when you move here, you can be comfortable knowing that this is your final move. You know, you don't have to be moving and worrying, okay, in a couple of years when I get a little sicker, a little less healthier, I'll have to move again, you know. So there's comfort, I think, in that when they move in, they get to know the staff, you know, they get to know each other, friends, and you hold those relationships until the end, you know. And I think that's reassuring for families as well, knowing that, you know, mom and dad don't have to have the stress of what if I got to move again, where am I going to go? Well, no, this becomes home, and the relationships you build become your new family.
And when it comes to the facility, we didn't start out this, and we didn't even realize this, but since we've opened and been, you know, working with different people, someone brought it to our attention that there isn't, that they could find, there isn't another facility in Canada, not one that has all the amenities that we have. So they brought it to our attention that it is more of a national, you know, facility. It isn't just something, you know, where we have more than what other facilities have in Newfoundland. His words were he could not find another facility in Canada that had all of the amenities under one roof in the one building, and it was never our intention whatsoever. But it is nice to know that, hey, maybe we have something really special here.
Absolutely. So staying on the word facility for a second, the old connotation of an old folks home, small little place, people sat around, how has that changed over time? And I would argue, I'd go so far as arguing, I said it to your dad, that he and your mom have been a big part of changing how that looks in Newfoundland. But how has it changed, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think about our retirement homes right around the bay, and like Tim said, to the residents there when they moved in and continue to move in, they feel like they have the world. Beautiful facilities, not to this caliber, but beautiful facilities. And I think the biggest thing for residents is a great meal, you know, someone to care for them, and recreation. You know, something that will enrich their lives. And I think the facility takes a back seat. Like I said, even this facility, I think, takes a back seat, as beautiful as it is, to the relationships that get formed between residents. And I think of our life enrichment coordinator, Cynthia, phenomenal. The residents adore her, and she adores them. And it's that brings this to life, because it's just steel, stone, wood, tile. That's all it is. I mean, as beautiful as it is, that's all it is. It's the people that make this alive, that bring it alive, you know, and make it what it is. And we're just so blessed to have a great team here to bring life to the building.
Can you tell us a little bit about independent assisted living? Talk to me about that phraseology.
Yeah, well, I guess independent living would be somebody that, like I said, let me start over. Yeah, so independent living would be someone that is living pretty independent, you know. They don't want the cares of snow clearing anymore. They don't want the upkeep of their home anymore. So they move into a facility like this because not only they could go to a condo, where they wouldn't have that there, but then they may still be alone. And so allowing them to come into a place like this, they're around other people. They can stay in their room, in their unit. We have some 2-bedroom units here, some 1-bedroom units. So they can still have their own private space, but being an independent resident, they can leave whenever they want, go out, visit people in the community. But if they want to walk out of their unit 8 o'clock in the night, they can go down the hall and visit with somebody. They don't have to leave and go outside. There's always somebody around. So that's what an independent resident would look like. An assisted resident is a resident that would need some care, maybe from a PCA they may need just some help in getting their medication administered. So they don't have that worry anymore of sorting through their medications. When do I need to take this pill? They have someone that can do it for them. They may need some help getting assistance in a shower. May need help getting dressed in the mornings. Maybe they can do everything else themselves, but they just need that one little thing that they need help with. And so they would be a care resident that we would be able to care for.
I think moving into a retirement home, we often talk about, what it means to the resident and what we can do for the resident. But I think about a lot of residents who find purpose when they come in because they have so much to give. They had years home alone. They were probably a part of social clubs in their communities, whether it be quilting or Lions clubs or Knights of Columbus. And the older they get, they sort of lose touch with some of that. But when they come in here, it's like they have a renewed purpose. And Cynthia is really good with that, finding, what makes a resident tick. And it's not about us catering to them or creating a program for them. No, this is for them. They can lead it. So they're quite capable of leading a quilting group. Who would be better than them? That's what they do. Or calling bingo, So I think that's important to realize that a lot of residents find an immense purpose when they come in that they wouldn't have if they were sort of home alone, isolated, especially with what we've been through this past couple of years with COVID. Perhaps not seeing anybody for weeks and months. Here they had somebody to say hi, good morning. A face.
I think one common thread that we've always heard from residents, not just at this facility, but any facility we've had over the last 20 years is, I wish I had moved in earlier. Because oftentimes it's really hard to make that move, to move into a retirement facility, to leave your home that you grew up in or raise your family in. And they often, because years ago, I often heard, this was before my time, retirement homes were known as the poorhouse. That's what they were called in Newfoundland. I'm going up to the poorhouse now. Nowadays, retirement homes are furthest thing from the poorhouse. The facilities across the island are amazing. But residents often are hesitant to move in, and we hear it over and over. I wish I had done it earlier. When I was a little bit healthier, when I was a little bit more active, I could have enjoyed this place so much more if I had made the move a little bit earlier. And that's the common theme that we've heard for 20 years over and over.
How do you help them with that? How do you help people that are out there right now, because there's hundreds of them that are going through their mind, should I make this move? Their family is worried about mom and dad. We should really have this conversation. How can Lanes help them right now with that challenge they're facing?
We have programs where residents can come in for short stays. So maybe their kids are going away on vacation for 2 weeks. The resident can come in, enjoy the facilities, get a taste of it, not making a commitment, just coming in, getting to see what it's like. And usually, almost everybody that comes for that short stay, they may not stay right away, but in a year's time when they get to the point where, I'd like to have more people around, I need more care, they're not hesitant anymore. They're ready to make the move because they've experienced, even if it was for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, they've experienced what it's like to actually live in a retirement home this day and age.
Yeah, we had a doctor and his wife from Notre Dame Bay move in last winter for a short-term stay. They came for 3 months. All 4 of their children and their grandchildren are in St. John's, but they wanted to go back home for the summer, but they're already booked. They already got their room booked to come back this winter again for 3-4 months, however long they want to come, right? So that's a great way to sort of, still hold on to a piece of home, if you can do it, if you can handle it, but also give yourself a break, especially in the winter months.
It's a great offering.
It can be pretty harsh in Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great offering, and you guys hit the nail right on the head. Try before you buy, right?
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things that make Lane stand out from other facilities of this type? Culture of the team. Let's talk about the team culture for a second.
Well, again, I think, Tim and I are owners who started right where our staff are, as we've already shared. And I think that, there's a difference in that. We're not just some corporate guys who decided to build a retirement home because it was a good investment. It seems like a good business to be into. No, this has been our lives. This was our parents' lives. Our parents put bread on the table for the family, caring for seniors. And it wasn't just about putting bread on the table. It was about caring for seniors. And I think, I would like to think that Tim and I still carry that as owners of a bigger corporation now, and our younger brother, if you look at us, probably got over 1,000 beds on the island. So that's, it's a big business, but it still comes back to the basics. It comes back to, comfortable place to live, someone who cares, a great meal, some fun along the way, and respect for the residents and their families. Understanding that they've all lived different lives. There's been hard times along the way. It's just about coming together, us doing our best to care for them, and welcoming them as a part of our family. And I just think there's no more complicated than that.
Thank you for tuning in to Gale Force Winds. That's Gale Force Winds, WINS.com.